Hello and thank you for purchasing the Split Screen Slider 4 Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to use it. With this section, you can have two fixed media elements such as images or videos or a combination of both with custom text that slides next to it. The media elements remains in place while the text content moves in a slider. To get started, let's add some text content by clicking these blocks on the sidebar. Once you click, you can add a title, subtitle, text blocks, button 1 and button 2. Okay, so I'm using this on a clothing store so we can add something like this. Okay, and for text block, I have something on my clipboard, so I'm gonna paste it. Okay, then we have the buttons, and the first option is the button label for that first button. So maybe we can add something like buy now and add a direct link for a product. Okay, and then we have this open in a new tab toggle. So when this is enabled and the users click on a button, they will open that link on a new tab. But for now, I'm gonna keep it disabled. Then we have the same for button 2. Okay, so in case you don't need to use the button, you can clear the label. And if we clear the label, we don't show the button. But maybe we can add something like view all and add a button for a collection. Okay, so now I'll add some more content to the slides and speed up the process. Okay, now that we added the text, let's go to the section settings to add the media and the styling. To go to the section settings, we can click in here. Once in the section settings, we'll see the first option, and it's the main media selector. And right now it's image, so we can add an image from our library like this. But you can also select it to be a video. And when you select video, you can either use a YouTube or Vimeo video or add an MP4 video from your library. So for example, we can add something like this. Then we have the video poster image, and this is in case you want to use a placeholder image for your video. You can select an image from your library, so that will be used on top of the video, and if the user wants to see the video, they can click on it and they will see the video. Then we have the secondary media options, and the first one is the media selector, which it can be image or video. For example, we can add an image, maybe something like this. Then we have the video URL, so we can ignore for now because we're using an image. Then we have the MP4 video and the poster image. Next, we have the column styling, and the default layout right now is text, media, media. You can add this to be media text media or media text like this. Next, we have the columns percent. So right now by default is thirds, but you can combine it to be half, quarter, quarter, okay? Or quarter, quarter, half, or quarter, half, quarter, okay? But on this example, I'm gonna leave it at thirds. Next, we have the margin between columns. So is this distance between them, okay? So right now it's 10 pixels, but we can increment this to have more room between them. Then we have the same settings for mobile. So you can have media, media, and text, or have media, text, media, or have text, media, media, or you can also combine it with media and media on top and then text like this. Okay, so media, media, and text, or the other way around, text and media. But on this example, I'm gonna use media, media, and text. Then we have the margin between columns, so you can increment that distance between them. Okay, let's go back to desktop. Next, we have the media styling, and the first option is media dimensions. Right now, the default is original, so that means that the size of that media element will be the original dimensions of that media. Okay, so that's why the video looks like this, because the original video has these dimensions, and the secondary image is the original size. But if you select other size that is not original, both media elements will have that same size. So you can choose between landscape, portrait, square, horizontal, which is good for videos, or vertical, which is like a vertical video. But on this example, I'm gonna leave them as portrait. Okay, cool. Next, we have the media height, and by default is auto. This means that the height will be determined by these media dimensions, okay? But you can also select to be full. So right now, maybe you won't see a difference, but let's say the text area is very big. For example, you have a long text, or you have very big fonts. So when they're on full, they will all expand all the way. But if we keep this on auto, you'll see that the images won't stretch, no matter how big the text is, okay? But I'll remove this and keep it like that. Okay. Let's go back. Next, we have the media border radius, and this controls the corner of the media elements. So right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll see that the corners will be affected. So you're giving it more and more curve to the elements, okay? But maybe for this example, I'm gonna leave it around 10. Next, we have the video styling options, and the first one is to add a custom play icon. So this is only available when you add a poster image like we're doing right now. Okay, so you can add your own icon if you like. Then we have the play icon size. By default is medium, but you can select it to be small or up to extra large like this. Next, we have the video settings, and the first option is to autoplay video. So right now we won't see it because we're using a placeholder image, and in order to see the video we need to click on it like this, okay? But if we remove that image, we'll see that the video will start playing automatically. So you can turn this on or off. Next, we have the loop video option, and when this is enabled, at the end of the video will start playing again, okay? So that's why it loops like that. But if we remove this, at the end of the video will just stop like this, okay? But on this example, I'm gonna leave it enable. Next, we have the show controls on video, and right now they're disabled, but if you enable this, you'll see that the video has these controls, so you can play it or pause the video, mute or mute it, or select which part of the video to play. But on this example, I'm gonna leave it disabled. Next, we have the slider setting. This is for the text area. So the first option is to autoplay it. So when this is enabled, the text will start playing automatically and go to the next slide like that. And with this, you can increment or decrease the speed of the animation. Next, we have the slider animation, and by default it's fade, okay? But if you select slide, you'll see that the text will animate horizontally like that. But I really like the fade effect, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Next, we have the slider navigation. So right now it's dots, so you will see these dots over here, but you can also select it to be none. And with this enabled, you can create a seamless animation. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna leave it dots. Next, we have the same settings for mobile, but on mobile, you can also select it to be arrows. So when arrows is selected, you'll see the arrows right here. But for now, I'm gonna keep it dots. Let's go back. Next, we have the slider dot styling, and the first option is the background of the wrapper. So you can add a custom color, so maybe something like this. Next, we have the slider dots color, so we can add something like that. And the next one is the active color. So if you add a color right here, the users can know which of the slides is the active one. Next, we have the sliders dot size, and by default is medium, but you can also select to be small or large. For now, I'm gonna keep it at medium. Next, we have the slider dots position, and right now it's bottom left of the text area, but you can also select it to be bottom center or bottom right. Next, we have the margin from text, which is this distance over here. So I'll put this in here. You can increment that distance using this range. Okay, next we have the margin from edge. So this is available when you have it on the left or on the right. So with this field, you can add that margin from the corner. But for now, I'm gonna leave it at 0. Next, we have the slider dots border radius. So this affects the corners of the wrapper of the dots and also the dots. For example, if we increment this, we'll see that curve around the dots, okay? Next, we have the settings for mobile. You can select it to be at the bottom of text, like this, or to be at the top of text, like this. And then we have the horizontal alignment. By default, it's left, but you can also select it to be center, like this, or right. And then we have the margin from text, which is this distance over here. So you can increment this if you want to make more room. I'll reduce it a little bit and actually keep it on the left, like this. And then we have the margin from edge, which is this distance over here. So if we increment this, we'll make more room. But on this example, I'm gonna leave it at 0. Next, we have the slider arrow styling. And this is in case you're using arrows or navigation. So let's go back. So you can select to be at the bottom of text or the top of text. And then you have the same. The margin from text, which is this distance over here, and the margin from edge. And when you increment this, you will bring the arrows closer and closer together. So if I use something like that, we're adding that distance in here and in here. Okay, next we have the colors, and the first option is the line color. So maybe we can add something like this, and then the background color for the wrapper. So we can add something like this. And actually the arrow colors can be lighter like that. Okay. Next, we have options for custom arrows, so you can add your own if you have custom ones. So this works the same as the play icon, so you will select from your library and you will use it for the left and for the right. Okay, but on this example, I'm gonna remove it because I really like the default ones. Now let's go back to desktop. Okay, next we have the section styling, and the first option is the section width. By default, it's full width with a content max width of 1280. So that means the section expands all the way, but the content inside the section stays within that content max width. Okay, so maybe if we add a color, you'll see it better. So the section expands like that. Okay, let's go back. Okay, and with this, you can increment it up to 1500. Okay, but let's say you don't want a content max width and you want the content to always be 100 100% of the width, you can enable this. And when this is enabled and you go to full width, you'll see that the content will stretch all the way, no matter the screen size. Okay, but you can also select regular width. And when using regular width, this content max width will actually be the max width of the whole section. So you'll see that the whole section will expand up to 1280. But I really like the full width effect, so I'm going to keep it like that with the content max width. Next, we have the section border radius. And with this, we can control the curves around here, but I'm going to keep it at 0 for now. And then we have the section top, bottom, and horizontal margins. So the top margin is the outside distance between this section and the previous section. So right now it's 20 pixels, but if you increment this, you'll make more room outside of the section. And the same with the bottom margin. Okay, and then for horizontal margin, this is only available when using regular on section width. Let me show you. When using regular width, this horizontal margin is this distance over here on the outside. We added that in case you have a content max width very big. So let's say your whole section expands 1500, but you still need to add a margin in here. Without this, it will look like this, like it is full width. Okay, but if you add this margin, you can create that space outside of the section. Next, we have the section top and bottom padding. And while the margins are the outside distance, the padding controls the inside distance. So right now, 20 pixels is between the content and the upper part of the section. So if we increment this, let's say something like that, we would add more room inside the section. Okay, we can do the same at the bottom, and we can add that space over here. Next, we have the horizontal padding, which controls this distance right here. So if you want to make more room in here, you can do it using this field. But maybe 50 is too much for all these paddings, so I'm gonna put it back at 20. And maybe on section width, I'm gonna put it back as full width with 1280 of the content max width, like this. Okay, next we have the same settings for mobile, top, bottom, and horizontal margin, and top, bottom, and horizontal padding. And next we have the slide text area styling. And the first option is the vertical alignment. So right now it's center, but you can add this to be at the top or to be at the bottom, like this. But I'm gonna keep it at center for now. And next we have the text area horizontal padding. And with this, you can make more room inside of it. So right now this is the text area, so you will add that extra space. But for now, I'm gonna keep it at 0. Okay, and then we have the text alignment. By default it's left, but you can also select it to be center or right. Okay. And then we have the same for mobile, the horizontal padding, and the text alignment. And then we have the styling options for the text elements. And the first one is the title color, which is this right here. So you can select a custom color. Next, we have the Use Custom Font toggle. And when this is enabled, you can select a custom font from this list. For example, we can select something like that. Okay, and then we have the custom font family name. So this is useful in case you're loading a custom font on your theme. For example, you're loading on Helvetica, you'll add there that custom family name, and this will grab that font, okay? But on this example, I'm gonna leave it blank because I want to use this font. And next we have the font weight. With this, we control how bold it looks. So right now it's default, but you can select it to be bold, but I'm gonna keep it as default for now. Next, we have the top and bottom margin. So this controls this distance over here. So if you want to make more room at the top, you will use this field, and the same at the bottom. So if you want to push the content down, you will select this, okay? But maybe I'll keep it at 10 for each. Next, we have the font size. So with this, you can control how big the font looks. And next, we have the line height. And with this, you can control the vertical distance between the characters. For example, if I increment this, you'll see that we're adding more space between the characters vertically. But if you keep it at 0, it will grab your theme's default line height. The same with the font size. If any of these three, you keep it at 0, it'll be the default from your theme, okay? But maybe on the font size, we'll keep it at 32. Okay. Cool. Next, we have the letter spacing. And with this, we can control the horizontal distance between the characters. While the line height is vertical, this is horizontal. So if we increment this, we are adding more space between the characters. But I really like my theme's default, so I'm going to leave it at 0. Next, we have the same for mobile, margin top, margin bottom, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay. And then we have the same for the subtitle. So we can select a color, maybe something like this, and we can use a custom font, and then select the font weight. Maybe we want this a little bolder, and then the font size, maybe we can make it a little smaller, like this. And for the line height and letter spacing, I'm gonna leave it at 0 to use my theme's default. Then we have the same for mobile, margin top, margin bottom, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Okay, then we have the same for the text block. The color, so maybe we can add like a gray color, like this. And maybe the font size a little bigger. And then we have the same for mobile, margin top, margin bottom, font size, line height, and letter spacing. Next, we have the button styling. And the first option is the buttons layout. So by default is side by side, but you can also stack the buttons like this. But for now, I'm gonna leave it side by side. Then you have the gap between buttons, and this controls this distance over here. So maybe we can increment this distance to create more room between them. Next, we have the margin top, which is the top distance, so we can add more room like this. And then we have the margin bottom, so we can add more room. But remember, for the margin bottom, you can either use this field or use the dots margin top. So you can control the distance with either of them. Then we have the horizontal padding and vertical padding. So this is the distance inside the button. So right now the default is 20. So that's the distance between the text and the edge of the button, but you can add more to make your buttons wider. The same with the vertical padding. So if you increment this, you add more room at the top, at the bottom. But maybe this is too much. I'll reduce it a little bit. Okay, cool. Then we have the text styling for the buttons. This works pretty much the same as the other text elements, where you can use a custom font and you can select a font from the list or use a custom family name. You can also adjust the font weight, font size, and letter spacing. But maybe on font size, we can make them a little bigger like that. Okay. Then we have the same options for mobile, the buttons layout, stack or side by side, gap between buttons, the margins, the paddings, and the font size. Okay. Next, we have the button borders. And the first option is the button border radius. And this controls the corners of the button. So right now it's 0, but if you increment this, you'll add more curve to those buttons. Okay, and then we have the button border width. Right now it's 0, but if you increment this, we'll see that the button now has a border outside of it. Okay, next we have the button colors, and the first option is the text color. So you can add a custom color like that. You can also control the background color. So you can add something like that. Okay, and you can also control the border color. So maybe on the border color, we'll make it like this. You can also remove the background color in case you want to use something like this. There's only the outline of the button. Okay, so maybe I'll make this darker like this. Okay, cool. And down here we have the hover colors, and these colors are applied when the user puts the mouse on top of it, so it will grab these colors over here. So maybe on hover we can change this to be this color, and also the border the same color, and the text color to be white, so we can create this effect like this. So I really like how it looks, so I'm gonna save it, and that's it. Thank you again. If you have any questions or if you run into any issues, please don't hesitate to contact us via the support page on our website. Thank you and take care.